thank you for listening today, because basically you're giving me what is the greatest commodity that we have to give in today's society. But before we get into that, make sure if you haven't listened to the last episode, listen to it. And if you have, just make sure that you're applying the steps that we talked about. So what is this commodity that we're talking about? What is it that all the big tech companies are doing to try and take it from you? What is it? Is it money? No, it's absolutely not. Just consider the people who work at Facebook, the people who work on these social media platforms, hire the same experts who work in casinos that are designed simply to keep you on the machines. They use all of this same technology and psychology on you on their social media platforms. And that commodity that they're all trying to get from you is your attention. Attention is basically the greatest commodity that we have to give, because the human life is limited. All we have is our attention. And simply by giving your attention to social media, marketing, whatever it is, they get ad revenue, they get whatever it is, and this in turn makes money for them. So while money is the important commodity, attention is the way to get it. But it doesn't just apply to marketing. It applies to everything that we do. Have you ever been in a relationship where the other person is not giving you any attention? If this happens to you or someone you know, then that person is being deprived of the commodity attention within the relationship. And it applies to all relationships, even work colleagues or relationships with friends. If you're talking to your friend and he's zoned out, it's like, well, the friendship's not going to continue very well if that's the pattern from there on outwards. We give each other attention and we value it, and that is the foundation on which we build these friendships. Now just consider for a moment. Now you know this, and you probably knew it instinctively before. What are you going to do with this? Are you going to be intentional with what you do with your attention? Once you realize that your intention is so important, it's a commodity that just you can't get back, because time always moves in one direction. Once you realize that you've been wasting it so much, what can you do about it? Well, there's two things. The first thing is focusing on yourself, on the things that you need to achieve. The reason why most of us fail with our goals is that we get distracted, we don't focus our attention on the things that we want, and subsequently we fail. But if we can learn to master our attention, to guide it in the direction that we want intentionally, everything changes. And so if you've gone about trying this and found that you failed, the chances are you're probably overstimulated. And the current term that everyone uses for this is the dopamine detox, which is just essentially getting off the device more, stop using the social media platforms, stop being inundated with boundless amounts of content, stop listening to so many podcasts, stop listening to YouTube, stop listening to this podcast if it gets your attention focused. Whatever it is, you need to use your attention in order to drive it the way that you want. That is, to be intentional. Now, the second part is in relationships. If you are in a relationship, you should be giving your attention to your significant other, because if you don't, the relationship will just start to be weakened, and it's incredibly hard to build up from that point. Further to that, if you're in a friendship and you've decided not to communicate with that person, not to give your attention when you're with them, whatever, you know what is obviously going to follow. So if these friendships are not really worth it and you've strongly evaluated, then you know the secret on how to end them. Just stop giving it the attention. But if they're valuable, you know how to really build them and make them stronger. Further to this, if there's a relationship you want to be in, then you can give attention in the right way. Now, this is not to say that you go up to somebody that you are romantically attracted to and suddenly give them all your attention, because that's creepy. But if you've got discernment, you know exactly what I mean. So I worked hard to make sure that this episode was under 5 minutes, because the attention span of the average person today around 8.25 seconds. So I've gone way over that timing, but I know that if you're listening to this sort of content, it's something that you've been able to grow and develop. So the takeaway, in less than 8.25 seconds. 1, your attention is the most valuable commodity. 2, make sure that you're intentional with how you use it. 3, use it for relationships and for your own goals. And if you find any of that hard, just make sure that you detox from all the social media, that you start to get into a place where you can read books, where you can carry conversations, where you can focus on things for a longer period of time. And as you do that, you'll be able to give attention to the goals that you want specifically, to the relationships that you want, and everything can change. I'll talk to you on the next episode.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If so, rate it from the place you downloaded it. For any questions, send an email to michaelpulser@gmail.com.